from Guyman Petro. It's the DC3 Coaches Show. And now here's your host, Ryan Osmus.
Hello again, guys. Thanks so much for joining us. It's been 2 weeks since our last show, and we have lots of Conq sports to update you on, so let's jump right in. Women's soccer is hitting its stride as the team has won 3 straight and 5 of its last 7, including last Wednesday's 2-1 double overtime victory over Garden City. Freshman forward Deanna Prieto is leading the team in goals and assists with 4 apiece. The ladies are sitting at 6-5-1 overall, and their 5-3 in mark in the Jayhawk Conference play is currently good enough for 4th place in the tough Western Division. Men's soccer has also won their last 3 matches, including back-to-back shutouts of Garden City and Pratt last week. Sophomore forward Anthony Bolivar leads the team with 11 points on 4 goals and 3 assists. The men are currently 8-2-1 overall and 5-1-1 in the Jayhawk Conference, putting them in 3rd place, locked in a tight battle with Barton and Cloud County, who sits just 1 game ahead of Dodge City. Both DCCC soccer clubs will face Cloud County Wednesday at Memorial Stadium, with the men having a chance to slip into 2nd place in the Jayhawk West. Staying with the women, our women's golfers are few in number, but they're making their mark. Sophomore Napa Canary Sitherthorn tied for 1st place in the season opening tournament in Pueblo, shooting a final round 76 to come from behind and catch the leader at the Farmers Insurance Invitational. After ending the 1st round in a tie for the lead at the Central Kansas Classic in McPherson, sophomore Suthasini Strident finished just off the lead with 9 over par, good enough for 2nd place. For the 2nd straight year, the DC3 men's golfers won the Central Kansas Classic, taking the tourney title by 3 strokes last week. Conquistador sophomore Saxgit Jirac was the overall winner, tallying 9 under for the tournament, including a phenomenal 62 on the 2nd day. Sophomore Logan Durst finished in 3rd place at 1 under. The women and the men are in action today and tomorrow at the Kansas Wesleyan University Fall Invitational at the Salina Country Club. In cross country, Dodge City sophomore Marcella Martinez was named Conference Runner of the Week for September 12. Marcella was the top junior college runner, finishing 5th overall in the 5,000 meter at the Warrior Fest hosted by Sterling College. Dodge City's Marcelo Cruz won the men's 8,000 meter, finishing just over a minute ahead of the nearest challenger. Sophomore Cruz finished in 2nd place at the Muthasa Rogers Invitational last week, while Martinez took 8th on the women's side. The Conquistador volleyball team hosted and swept its triangular last Wednesday, coming away with a pair of 4-set victories over Fringe University and Sterling College's JV teams. The team then lost in 3 sets Friday to 2nd place Colby. Freshman Maddie Spencer is setting the pace as the 5'10 Wichita product has tallied 132 kills and 69 digs on the season. Team is 4-17 overall and 1-8 in conference play. Conqs are facing Jayhawk West foe Barton County tonight at the Student Activity Center on the DC3 campus. The Cougars come into the game in 4th place in the division and beat the Conqs in straight sets when the team faced off in August. Good luck to all our athletic teams for the week to come. The Conquistador softball and baseball teams are in the midst of fall ball, honing their skills for the spring season that will be here before they know it. Conquistador head baseball coach Phil Stephenson is in his 14th season in charge of the club, leading the team to a 2015 Central District Championship and the JUCO World Series in Grand Junction, Colorado. Coach Stephenson was a member of the 1982 Wichita Shockers College World Series Club, and he still holds over half a dozen WSU and NCAA records. He spent 14 years playing professional baseball after being selected by the Oakland A's in the 3rd round of the 1982 draft. He played at the major league level for the Cubs and Padres before retiring in 1995. He is a member of the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame and the National College Baseball Hall of Fame, and was named as one of the 3 best college baseball players of the 20th century by Collegiate Baseball and one of the top 10 college baseball players of all time by Baseball America. Last year, Coach Stephenson led the Conqs to a 33-23 mark overall and a 17-15 record in the Jayhawk Conference. The team ended last season winning 3 of their last 4 before falling to number 5 in Neosho County at the Region 6 tournament. We're honored to have him as a longtime Conquistador coach. So let's talk about his club's prospects for the upcoming season. Let's have a hand for Coach Phil Stephenson. Coach, how you doing?
Great. How are you, Ryan?
Good evening.
Good to see you.
Very nice to have you here. It's always an honor to interview any of our coaches at the college, but it's a special honor to actually interview you because unbeknownst to many, I was a baseball player at one time and I used to attend Wichita State Soccer's baseball camp. And I was lucky enough to win a couple of hitting awards that actually have your name on them. So with that, getting into your bio a little bit, I know we're here to talk about your team, but I want to introduce you to the fans, to our fans live and our fans that will be watching. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? You were a great baseball player. I don't know if people understand how great of a college baseball player you truly were, but please, I know it's uncomfortable to talk about yourself, but take a little time to share a little bit about yourself.
Well, Ryan, I was pretty fortunate. I had a lot of good players around me, too, not only position players, but pitchers as well, and we had some really great teams at Wichita State, and I had a guy named Joe Carter hitting behind me for a couple of years.
Yeah, right.
So
absolutely.
that was pretty nice to be in that situation. But, I stuck around all 4 years. I was drafted in my junior year by Montreal, which is now the Washington Nationals, and decided not to sign and went back to college. And that was the year we were able to make the 1982 College World Series and finished runner-up that year. And, I was... The longevity, I guess, is part of it, but also having the opportunity to have a lot of good players around me. And, I was a pretty good college player at one time.
Right. Well, thank you for sharing that, Coach. I think you were a little bit better than pretty good, but we understand. Okay, so talk a little baseball about your teams. Before we get into this year's team, I want to visit a little bit about the 2015 team. Now, obviously, I know a few years have passed, but that was a really special time for Dodge City Community College baseball. That was our, most wins we'd ever had in a season, around 35. We were district champs, and we actually got a spot in the Junior College World Series. Can you share a little bit about that experience and being able to participate in that event?
Well, I'll correct you just slightly. I think we won 42 games.
There we go.
Year,
That's good. Okay.
But it really turned out to be a special group, and the fall was really interesting. We didn't play very well in the fall. We had a lot of struggles. We had some issues off the field that we had to get corrected. We had to make some changes, move some guys out. We brought some guys in at the break. And, about 10 games into the season, it was kind of like this group started to click together.
Right.
And we had a great number 1 starter, Luke Crabb, who took on everybody else's number 1 starter throughout the year. And I think he went 5-3 in league play. He didn't get anything but honorable mention honors with the league because of his record.
Right.
But he was the guy that won game 1 for us in the tournament when we got to Wichita to play in the district tournament. And then he beat number 1 ranked Cali with a complete game, 9-inning gem, where he only gave up 4 hits. 3 of those were infield singles. And just pitched a whale of a game, and we had one huge inning where we got 7 runs, blew the game open, and we got the opportunity to go to the JUCO World Series. Actually, it was the second time that, as a school, we had attended the World Series. The first time, I believe, was 1958, the very first year they had it.
Yeah.
It was actually in Miami, Oklahoma.
Oh, I've been there.
This is where they had that, and 2 years later, they moved it to Grand Junction, which is where it is today. It was kind of ironic. I had an opportunity to play in Grand Junction as a freshman in college. We had a great team there. We didn't get a chance to go to the NBC World Series, but when I went back there as a coach with the JUCO team, a gentleman who had been our bat boy on that team that I played with as a freshman, was one of our host representatives.
Oh, okay.
Ironically, with the group, so it was a great experience. That team, had some great individual players, but it was a group of guys that came together as the season wore on and just had that feeling about them. They weren't going to lose. They weren't going to lose close games, and we came from behind a lot during the conference season.
Right.
And I think we set the world record for scoring runs with 2 outs.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. Okay,
I say that, but it seemed like every time we needed a rally, we had to get 2 outs first, and then we could put a rally together.
Yeah.
And we did that time and time again, even including the rally we put together when we beat Cali in the championship game. All of those runs came with 2 outs.
Oh, okay. Well, first of all, thank you for correcting a couple of my stats. I appreciate that. That's why we're interviewing you. Okay, let's talk a little bit about this season, this team. You're about halfway through your fall schedule, so you've got a pretty decent sample size. What are you seeing out of your team this year that you really like, and things that you might need to work on as you move through your fall schedule?
Well, I kind of use this terminology in the fall. Our group, as it moves forward, kind of resembles an old Clint Eastwood movie. The good, the bad, and the ugly.
I got you, yeah.
Okay? We've had good days, we've had some bad days, and we've had a couple of really ugly days.
Yeah.
And, but that's kind of how you go. That's kind of how the team was even in the fall of 14. It became the 15 team that made the World Series. You just never know till you get guys together and you get them to gel. Probably the biggest difference is that this team has got a lot of freshmen.
Yeah.
We don't have a whole ton of returning sophomores, only 9. We did bring in about 4 transfer sophomores to kind of fill our numbers up a little bit. But I think as we go, we're going to kind of figure out how guys are going to continue to improve, where we're going to need to make changes. We're going to have to definitely be better on the mound than we were a year ago. That was our biggest issue a year ago.
Yeah.
We had a lot of guys that put together really good offensive seasons, but we just didn't pitch it well enough. And we didn't play defense very well either. So those are things that we're hoping we're going to be able to change this year. I think we're going to get better offensively as we continue to play throughout the fall and work on things over the winter. But I think we have a lot of talent on the mound. It's just going to take some time to get the guys to the potential that they need to reach. And, between myself and my assistant, Cruz Cedillo, I think, we've got the group of guys we like to work with, and we're enjoying working with them. We just got to continue to push forward. And, I talk each day, and I also have a saying that's down at the bottom of the stairs right outside the Wellness Center, where our guys come up every day, that says the player you are today should be able to outplay the player you were yesterday. And if that's not true, then you didn't work hard enough on that given day. And we really take that to heart and try to practice that way.
No, that's an excellent thing. So I believe you're on the road tomorrow, Northwestern Oklahoma State. Is that
Wednesday?
Is that correct? Wednesday. But then you'll be back home on Sunday.
We're back home on Sunday and with 1 o'clock with Seward, and then the following Wednesday with Pratt at 4 o'clock.
Okay, and you've already touched on a lot of this, but maybe we can expand on it just a tad bit. Fall ball is a lot about getting better, getting people at bats, getting pitchers innings, just getting out there, getting some real game time action. As you look towards Northwestern Oklahoma State as well as Seward County, what areas? What are you looking from your team to accomplish in those games? What are you hoping they're able to do in those 2 contests?
Well, I think with going to Alva and playing Northwestern, it's more about showcasing our sophomores. Our sophomores will do all the pitching down there, try to get those guys the majority of the at-bats in those games there. And then when we come back and play Seward, we'll have a lot more of our freshmen who are going to pitch that game, and we'll spread out the at-bats more among our position players with that. So when you do those, each series kind of has a different feeling to it of what you're trying to do with it. Obviously, you want to play to win, but you're also trying to learn about development.
Right.
And trying to see what you can do to get guys better. They're learning from their mistakes. If they're not, we got to fix those things.
Right.
And that each time they go out, they hopefully improve. And if there's things that you find that are not improving, you got to figure out what you got to do to help them fix those things.
So you've touched on improving, getting better. You did mention that you'd like to see, your pitchers. They're going to have to they're going to have to do some positive things on the mound this year for you guys to be successful. But the reverse of that, or the opposite side of that same point, what are you really looking for your team to excel in this year? What are you really looking for them to succeed? They got to be good offense, good defense. What are you going to kind of hang your hat on this year?
Well, I'm an offensive guy, so obviously you want to be good offensively. Yeah. But if you're going to win, you got to be able to pitch and play defense, which is something that we didn't do consistently a year ago. And I think that's where we're putting our emphasis right now. We're going to have to find a way to get the best guys on the mound, especially on the weekend series, and find some guys that are going to give us consistency out of the bullpen as well. And then we've got to get better defensively, especially on the infield and up the middle. And that, we had 2 Division I catchers a year ago in Colt Nonstott and Dawson Tate, but we weren't as good at shortstop as we needed to be, and I think, and really the left side of the infield, and those are things we're trying to shore up this year and try to do that. And I think that if we can do those things, the offense will come as you continue to work and guys continue to grow. But you've got to be solid defensively, and you got to be solid on the mound if you're going to win consistently in this conference.
Coach, they're giving me the wrap-up.
I
can't believe how fast this goes. Hey, I really appreciate you coming in. Appreciate your time.
Right?
Good luck for the season. I'll see you soon.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Deanna Prieto is our Conquistador Athlete of the Week. The freshman forward from El Paso, Texas, has started 9 games for the Conqs, including the team's 7-0 shutout of Heston College last week, where she scored a pair of goals and assisted on 2 others. Deanna has racked up 4 goals and 4 assists for a total of 12 points thus far. Congratulations to Deanna. Good luck to women's soccer Wednesday against Cloud County. On September 15th, the Conq football team rallied from behind to beat Ellsworth Iowa Community College 34-30 at Memorial Stadium. Quarterback Drew Harris hooked up with freshman wideout Terrell Warner on a 40-yard touchdown pass with just 38 seconds to go to give the Conqs the victory. Harris went 15 for 22 and 187 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 pick in the game to go along with 28 yards on the ground. Defense made plays as well with interceptions from Kobe Perry, Deshaun Williams, and Malik Wilson. Wilson had 9 tackles and 1 of 3 Conq sacks in the game. Conqs followed that hard-fought victory with a heartbreaking homecoming loss to Butler September 22nd in double overtime. Conquistador kicker Devontae Gillory had his go-ahead field goal blocked, and the Grizzlies then were able to kick a game winner on their subsequent possession. Drew Harris was 15 for 32 in the loss, throwing 3 touchdowns and 1 interception. Conq defense had trouble defending the run against Butler, giving up 270 yards on the ground. For the season, the Conq defense is allowing nearly 184 yards rushing per game. Last Saturday, the Conqs traveled all the way to Council Bluffs, Iowa to face the number 5 team in the country, the Iron Western Reivers. Mistakes were the Conqs' downfall as Rivera scored on fumble recovery and missed a field goal return. Coach can correct me. And they picked off Conquistador quarterbacks twice. Sophomore Anthony Williams had a big day despite the loss. The 5'10", 190-pound running back totaled 137 yards and a touchdown on 27 carries, plus a pair of catches for 29 yards. Loss brings the Conqs records to 0-3 in the Jayhawk Conference and 2-4 overall. Team will look to rebound this Saturday as they host the 2-3 Coffeyville Ravens. To discuss that game and more, Conqs head coach Gary Thomas has joined us. Folks, welcome Gary to the show. Good evening, Coach.
How we doing?
Nice seeing you again. Hey, before we get started, you got to correct that name for me.
They're the Reivers.
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 And I promise you, I've been going through that. Now I'm on the spot and I choke it up.
It's the Diet Coke of a pirate, I guess.
I got you. Okay. Fair enough. Okay. So once again, last time we met, we had a lot to cover, short period of time.
Right.
Once again, since we last met, you've had 3 games, and then we got an upcoming game against Coffeyville Ravens here at home, 1 o'clock start on Saturday.
Yep.
So please come out, support our Conq football team. But let's go ahead and revisit those 3 games before we get into to Coffeyville.
Okay.
Let's start with Ellsworth. I was at that game. That is not only one of the most exciting games, community college games I've seen. That's probably one of the most exciting games I've ever seen, especially the last 6 minutes. So congratulations on that big win coming away with 34-30 victory. Mm-hmm. But just share with us a little bit about that game, especially the last 6 minutes and how everything transpired. We were down by 11 with 6 minutes to go. I saw people kind of shuffling around, leaving the stadium,
Absolutely.
And your team hung in there. They were gritty. They never quit, and able to come away with that 34-30 victory. Speak a little bit about that victory.
I mean, we did some things well, regardless of being down 11 points and, the last couple minutes, we just found ways to get in our own way. We were first and goal at the 2-yard line and fumbled the ball, and that took away a possession. We had a bad punt snap early in the game that led to one of their free touchdowns. So the flow of the game wasn't really indicative of what the score really was, and we finally put together a quick scoring drive, and then had to manage some time there at the end, and even got a penalty, but we had to go 80 yards. We were only down 3. We hit the 2-point conversion, which was big, which got us within 3 points, and we had plenty of time. I shouldn't say we had plenty of time. We had like 1:47 to go, but we had to go. We didn't have to go 80. We only really needed to go about 40, and we thought we could kick a field goal and try to beat them in overtime. And we got going there a little bit, and time started to become an issue. And they had a player that actually got injured, which allowed us to kind of regroup instead of hurrying. And during that kind of downtime where we had about 30 seconds to kind of catch our breath and analyze things, I was like, now's as good a time as any to take a shot, and we ended up getting behind 2 guys, and the rest is history. So, sometimes it's better to just, you see how many times games are decided by a 2-minute drill when people just stop worrying and start being aggressive.
Right.
And sometimes we just probably need to take that approach more often and just go after some people. But, it was a good win for us. We really, really needed it. And, unfortunately, we did some things that put us in that situation in the first place that could have been avoided. But, it's just kind of who we are right now.
So we had a touchdown pass, 40-yard touchdown pass with 38 seconds to go.
Yep.
Take the lead. I know you don't want to give away your secrets here, but can you speak a little bit about that play, what was called, how that
just
transformed, how he was able to get open down the field?
High-low concept. We knew we had been throwing a lot of our 4-vert package, which we have a bender that goes in the middle of the field. We had hit about 3 of those on the previous drive, so I knew the safety was going to be keying our slot.
Yeah.
They were playing pretty conservatively, obviously, because the touchdown gets you beat, so they were giving us some of the stuff across the middle, and I thought, maybe now would be the time where we know the safety's key in the slot, and so we kind of run a 12-yard dig with our slot and get the safety to key so that we can open up the post right behind it, and that's basically what happened. The safety still played it pretty conservatively. He was back there. He just got turned around and kind of stumbled and didn't make the play in the corner. The corner was the one that got beat more than the safety. And Drew made a good throw, and Terrell made a heck of a catch, and the rest is history.
Excellent play, excellent execution.
Yep.
So I kind of want to revisit something you'd said earlier. You talked about one of the bad snaps on a punt, which led to a subsequent block and then a touchdown.
Yep.
And then during that game against Ellsworth, they were actually able to recover 3 onside kicks. Can you speak a little bit about some of the struggles that you've had throughout the year as it relates to special teams and some of the things you're doing to overcome some of those challenges?
Well, we've had some bad snaps on punt. There's nothing to overcome. The guy's got to play better. That's his job. It's his only job, and there's nothing to overcome. We just we've been pretty consistent the last couple weeks. Since then, we haven't, knock on wood, we haven't had a bad snap since the Ellsworth game. Kickoff return was a unique deal. It was into the wind, and the first one wasn't an onside. They popped it. Our guy misjudged it, thought it was going to go deep, and it ended up dropping in behind him, and he took off to go block. So it really wasn't an onside situation. The next 2 kind of were, a situation that we haven't practiced. We've got a guy there that's not a guy that touches the ball very much in an uncomfortable position. And they made us look foolish, and it's something that we think we've corrected. It's just kind of been different areas. It hasn't been when you have a problem, you can fix it or you can replace the guy. Our problems have been kind of scattered. One week it was kickoff return. Our kickoff return team averaged almost 40 yards of kick return last week. Our punt teams had made their mistakes. They were much better last week. Our field goal team had been flawless. They get 2 blocked last week. So, it's, and that's just kind of how football goes. You have some moments where, Highland and Coffeyville, I just finished watching that game because we've got Coffeyville next week. Highland got 4 punts blocked in the same game. So, it just kind of goes around when someone finds a weakness, they exploit your weakness, and then you take some time to correct that weakness, and someone else will come along and exploit a different weakness in a different area. So you're always a moving target, and you're always, trying to get better. And some of the things, in tennis, they talk about unforced errors a lot.
Yeah.
A few of our problems have been unforced errors, unfortunately, but, it gives you a direction of focus and gives you something to improve on, and you're just trying to constantly improve, and hopefully you can be the best version of yourself that you can be.
Absolutely. Congratulations on the win, though, Coach. I was very excited.
Appreciate it.
So let's move to Butler County.
Yep.
So you kind of went from a kind of the highest high with that come from behind win, last second touchdown, to almost, about a low of lows, almost a gut wrenching loss, double overtime loss, 33-30. We had our shots, we had our chances. Yeah, just speak to us a little bit about how that game transpired, kind of how it ended.
It was a game. We felt like we matched up with them pretty well, regardless of the records. You look at common opponents. We knew we were going to be in the game. Even statistically, we outgained them. Probably put more yards on them than anyone else has the entire year. They were coming off playing Coffeyville, and they'd shut Coffeyville out, and we felt like we could move the ball, and I didn't think their skill guys were good enough to do too much damage. And again, the statistics are misleading where they rushed for 270 yards. They ran the ball 63 times. They only threw the ball like 12 times, and they threw for like 70 yards.
Right.
So from a statistics standpoint, they had a lot of yards rushing, but they didn't try to throw the ball very much, and I didn't think they'd be able to throw the ball very much, which they didn't. So, we played pretty well. I mean, the kids did everything we asked them to do. We made a couple mistakes that put them in some positions where they shouldn't have been.
Right.
But we played hard. We moved the ball on offense. I could have gone for two to get the win, to get the score that pushed it to overtime. We used a lot of the plays that would have been our 2-point plays.
Right.
You talk about blackjack and play it by the book, and in football you're at home, you come from behind. You should have gone for 2 there, but I didn't really have a play call that I felt really super confident with, and I didn't want to put the outcome of the game for the kids that worked so hard to get in that position down to 1 play.
Yeah.
I felt like if we took them to overtime, we'd have a chance to beat them. Our defense did a good job in the first overtime, stopping them at 3. We drove down. We were second and goal at the 4-yard line, and we had 2 open receivers, and we missed them both. It would have been walk-offs, and the game would have been over. I mean, you can only design plays to get guys open. Guys got to make throws and catches, and we didn't. So we ended up hitting the field goal, sending it to double overtime. Well, in the second overtime, your offense has to come straight back on the field, and their pass rush got after us.
Right.
Turned that field goal into a longer field goal than it needed to be, and the kicker, it got blocked, but the kicker kicked it low. He kicked it in the back of the line, and their guy hit a shot, and it was a walk-off, and you lose. I mean, we did a lot of things good. We played a really good football game. We just came up on the short end of a really well-played game.
We've only got a few minutes left.
Yeah,
so I want to talk a little bit about Iowa Western as well as the upcoming game in Coffeyville, but I want to touch on one thing. Your team against, and throughout the year actually, against Ellsworth, against Butler, I mean, they showed some real grit.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like they fight, they won't quit. And so speak a little bit about that, the grit that your team has shown at times, and that never die and just continue to fight spirit that they seem to show more times than not.
Well, there's a fine line between overconfidence and confidence, and it's good that we're able to play from behind and come back and get back into games, and shows a lot about the character of our guys and how hard they're willing to play.
Yeah.
Some of those situations though could be avoided because we kind of let our foot off the gas during the game, and then all of a sudden we have to get hot, get some traction at the end. Where if we could do the things that we're doing at the end in the third quarter and the second quarter, the fourth quarter would be a lot easier of a football game for us.
Right.
But it does show the confidence that our guys have in their abilities and our ability to climb back into games. But I'm trying to explain to them that that's not the norm. That's an exception, and we've been able to do it 2 games, but there's also 3 where we didn't. And it's not a habit you want to get yourselves into because it's not something that realistically is going to happen for you over and over again. So. We're tough. We're as tough as anybody out there, and we preach it and coach it, and our kids, buy into it. But it's, it runs into an overconfidence issue that turns back to bite you in the butt later on in some situations, and it's as good as it's been for us. It's bitten us in the butt a couple times too.
So this past past weekend, traveled to Iowa, took on Iowa Western, number 5 team in the country. Once again, you guys played hard. So statistically, you were kind of right there, as we seem to say. Every week, we've never been outclassed. There's just something here or there that kind of puts us behind the 8 ball. But share with us a little bit about the loss against Iowa Western.
We did some things well again. We were down 14-7 at one point, and we had a strip sack where their defense scored a touchdown, and we had a blocked field goal for a 70-yard touchdown. They hadn't scored an offensive touchdown, and we were dominating the football game as far as the play, and we were losing 14-7. You take the final score as 42-22. We had 2 offensive or special teams and an offensive touchdown that never should have happened. Just sloppy play. You take those 2 away, and it's 28-22. We had 2 field goals blocked, or 1 missed and 1 blocked. That's now a 28-28 game. And, so again, you look at the final score and you're like, wow, you didn't play very good. And you take out 5 plays and you're playing them neck and neck, and the outcome could very well go the other direction. And it's the same in the Independence game, it's the same in the Garden City game, and it's the same in that game. And unfortunately, if you were to just read a box score and look at it, you're going, wow, they really didn't play very well against 3 ranked teams. And the fact is, we did a lot of things well. We're just shooting ourselves in the foot to the point where we can't recover, or that it's unreachable at the end. And it's, obviously it's a point of contention, and it's something that we address over and over again. And, but at some point in time, the guys got to take some ownership of those situations as well.
Absolutely.
There isn't anything that they did to block the field goal. Our guy didn't do a good job.
Right.
They didn't do anything to strip the quarterback of the ball and walk in for a score. He has to do a better job of protecting the football. And those are things that and again, it's not one guy, it's not one situation, because you can fix those things. You can replace the person. We're doing it in so many different areas that it's preventing us from winning football games, and it needs to change. We've got some winnable games here down the stretch. I think we match up well with Coffeyville, Highland, Iowa Central, Fort Scott. Those are all games that I think that we should be in. We should have an opportunity to win, and if we continue to do the things that we've done in the past, we won't win those games either. But
let's go ahead and touch on that. Let's move into Coffeyville. I know we're running out of time here, but I want to touch on the game. One more reminder: Coffeyville this Saturday at home, 1 p.m. But Coffeyville's coming in 2-3, but nonetheless they're coming in with some talent. They're going to play hard. What are you expecting to see from Coffeyville as they come into Dot City?
They do play hard. They're definitely not as talented as some of the schools that we've played early. They don't have the same caliber athletes running around that Independence, Garden, Iowa Western had. We match up a lot better person for person. And they play hard, they make plays, they've been in some games. I feel like we're athletically superior to them. But again, if we continue to make some of the bonehead errors that we've made in the past, it'll be a ball game. They're almost dead last in every defensive category except for turnovers and defensive touchdowns. They're first. So you're talking about a team that's given up almost 450 yards a game on defense, but has 5 defensive touchdowns.
Yeah, so, opportunistic.
And those are things that'll get you beat. We make 2 stupid mistakes and give up 14 points on offense, we're going to lose the game.
Absolutely,
I feel like we'll move the ball. I feel like our defense will recover. We have 2 kids that will be without. They got ejected last week in Iowa from the worst officiating crew that I've ever seen in 20 years of college football. That
I won't comment.
Best I can tell, they did nothing wrong. And it was unfortunate. There was a lot of people there to witness some very, very poor officiating. And it's also been a point of contention in our conference of not wanting to affiliate with the Iowa schools because the officiating is so poor when you go up there. But, we're going to do it a little bit shorthanded. We're a little bit banged up. We're playing 2 guys shorthanded, but, we'll put the best 22 guys that we can put out there, and they'll play hard, and we'll let the chips fall where they may.
Hang in there, Coach. You're 2-3. Still a lot of football left. So good luck this weekend.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us. Thank you very much. Thank you. Let's give Coach Thomas a hand, please. Guys, that's going to do it for tonight. Thanks again to Coach Thomas and Coach Stephenson for talking with us this evening, and thanks to Guyman Petro for having us. There's a lot of Conq sports action in the upcoming weeks, so come out and see a game if you can. Thank you all, and join us here October 15th for another edition of the DCC Coaches Show. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.